14 Best Doctor Who Episodes to win Star Trek fans over with a Mobiles game crossover and a joint panel at San Diego Comic-Con. Star Trek fans intrigued by Doctor Who may need a handy episode guide to get them started. Although Star Trek and Doctor Who's links have become more pronounced in recent months, the connections between two of the most beloved TV sci-fi franchises actually go back decades. Star Trek, the original series, debuted on UK screens on July 12, 1969, in the exact same Saturday evening slot vacated by Patrick Troughton's final season of Doctor Who less than a month earlier. The UK's broadcast of the first Star Trek TV show coincided with the lead-up to the moon landing, scheduled to take place a week later. Months earlier, the Doctor Who serial, The Seeds of Death, had depicted a future where space travel had become unfashionable in the decades after man landed on the moon. The UK listings magazine Radio Times, via BBC Genome, contained an emotive listing for Star Trek's second pilot, Where No Man Has Gone Before, which perfectly highlights this key difference between Doctor Who's British pragmatism and the idealism of TOS. Despite their differing approaches and cultural influences, Star Trek and Doctor Who share an optimism and hope for the future. For 6 decades, both shows have promoted peaceful resolution to the intergalactic crises faced by their protagonists. The Doctor never carries a gun, while Star Trek's brave Starfleet officers always have their phasers set to stun. Some of Doctor Who's best episodes also share story ideas and similar moral dilemmas to the very best of Star Trek, making them a great primer for any Trek fan who wishes to step into the TARDIS. Frontier in Space throws the third Doctor, John Pertwee, and his companion Jo Grant, Katie Manning, into the center of a political conspiracy with wide-ranging ramifications for the rest of the universe. Framed for agitating tensions between a united Earth government and the Draconians, the Doctor is sent off to a penal colony where he narrowly avoids an assassination attempt. The similarities between Frontier in Space and Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, not to mention the overall storyline about intergalactic politics, makes it perfect for easing fans into the world of Doctor Who. There's a long naval tradition in Star Trek, but that's not why a Doctor Who story about the fifth Doctor, Peter Davison, participating in an outer space boat race should be appealing to Trek fans. Enlightenment introduces the Eternals, a race of Borg gods that toy with humanity, staging elaborate competitions. While the Eternals are stuffier, less flamboyant versions of Star Trek's Q, John Delancey, or Trellin, William Campbell, they do feel akin to those omnipotent game players. For added color, the sailing ships in space will recall the Bajoran solar sailing ship from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. While Doctor Who doesn't have Starfleet's prime directive, it does have its own policy of non-intervention, the rules of which are routinely bent. The Aztecs is the first Doctor Who story to set these rules, with the first Doctor, William Hartnell, memorably telling his companions that they cannot rewrite history, not one line. However, the Doctor's companion Barbara, Jacqueline Hill, attempts to save the Aztec people regardless of this. The Aztecs is a thought-provoking morality play that sits neatly alongside the best of Star Trek's episodes about the moral complexities of stepping in to save doomed civilizations. Doctor Who's Season 14, Episode 5, Dot and Bubble, was a powerful subversion of Star Trek's computer-controlled planet trope. The 15th Doctor, Ncuti Gatwa, and Ruby Sunday, Millie Gibson, try to save the colonists of Findtime from their social media apps, only to discover a much darker truth. While the popularity of Charlie Brooker's Black Mirror has likely led to modern Star Trek giving social media allegories a swerve, Doctor Who's Dot and Bubble takes some familiar Trek tropes and repackages them for a modern audience. Turn Left is one of the best episodes of Russell T. Davis's first Doctor Who era, and shares similar themes to Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 4, Episode 3, The Visitor. Both episodes are high-concept alternate reality tales that have an emotional realism to their storytelling and performances. While Star Trek fans won't recognize the events that the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, fails to avert in Turn Left, the emotional performance by Catherine Tate is more than enough to sell the impact of each tragedy. Much like Disney's The Visitor, Turn Left is a powerful piece about loss and the impact of one's choices. The Hungry Earth/Cold Blood is a retelling of the classic Third Doctor serial, Doctor Who and the Silurians, but this time featuring the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith. Both stories focus on the complex relationship between humanity and their predecessors, the Silurians, a species of evolved reptiles. In The Hungry Earth, the 11th Doctor gets a second chance to bring peace to both parties, but it's made difficult by prejudice and distrust from humans and Silurians alike. The Star Trek Voyager episode Distant Origin introduced the Voth, a variation on the same idea as the Silurians, who left Earth behind to travel the stars. The Silurians aren't the only Doctor Who monster that Star Trek has borrowed from over the years. The Borg Collective's "resistance is futile" catchphrase is eerily similar to that of the Cybermen in Doctor Who tell the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton, that resistance is useless. In The Tomb of the Cybermen, the second Doctor joins an archaeological dig that results in the reawakening of his old enemies, the Cybermen, combining both the greatest love and greatest fear of Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart. The Tomb of the Cybermen is a Star Trek fan's best intro to Doctor Who's answer to the Borg. The Doctor Who serial, Vengeance on Varos, is like Star Trek. The original series is The Gamesters of Triskelion for the age of video nasties. The Sixth Doctor, Colin Baker, and Peary, Nicola Bryant, land the TARDIS on Varos, a planet with a brutal approach to reality television. Whereas brutal entertainment is designed to keep the masses docile while corporate interests strip the planet of their minerals. In a classic Star Trek setup, the Sixth Doctor and Peary join a band of rebels to overthrow the oppressive regime. It's bleaker than the average Doctor Who story, but retains Star Trek's sense of justice. City of Death is one of the best Doctor Who stories of all time, primarily for its comic script, inventive time travel storyline, and Parisian locations. In City of Death, the Fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, and Romana, Lalla Ward, are embroiled in a plot to steal the Mona Lisa to fund time travel experiments that will wipe out life on Earth. Both City of Death and Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, comment on subjects that are still incredibly relevant today, from the rise of AI art to the ecological crisis facing humanity, but do so with a great deal of wit and humor. It's not only Star Trek Lower Decks' Lieutenant Beckett Mariner, Tawny Newsome, who thinks Spock is hot. In the classic Doctor Who two-parter, The Empty Child / The Doctor Dances, Rose Tyler, Billie Piper, complains that the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, isn't more Spock. However, Star Trek references aside, the Stephen Moffat two-parter is a chilling sci-fi horror about medical technology gone wrong, rewriting all of humanity in the image of a scared little boy in a gas mask. Strange New Worlds Season 2 recently told a similar story, albeit as a comedy, when alien technology accidentally removed his Vulcan DNA. Survival was the final story broadcast in Doctor Who's classic era, and it's fair to say the show went out with a bang. While Survival rightly gets plaudits for its believable contemporary Earth setting, the planet of the Cheetah People is a fascinating sci-fi idea. Much like the Genesis planet in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, the Cheetah People's planet was connected to the emotions of its native species. After years of savage violence on the planet, it starts to break down, forcing the Seventh Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, and his companion Ace, Sophie Aldred, to suppress their latent savagery to escape. Enjoy the Peter Capaldi episode Oxygen from Doctor Who Series 10, given that its vision of space travel isn't the clean and sanitized version of other Star Trek shows. Oxygen is a story about the harsh realities and the life-threatening danger of early space travel, making it a strong companion piece to Scott Bakula's Enterprise. However, once again, Doctor Who has a slightly more cynical vision of the future, predicting a capitalist space program that charges astronauts for their own oxygen.